talk about the right livelihood. Livelihood, referring to our living, to make, to survive, to live, and of course, to live in the daily life. What we need to do is to do in accordance with what a Buddhist should be. And this is the way the Buddha guiding us to live our life. And we need to make our living, but the living in a way so that we live but not wasting, not too much luxury, but also live in a way that is not too stingy, to a point where you're very tight. And of course, living in a way so that we avoid the so-called killing, stealing, and telling lie, and also not to take intoxicants. That is to say, the livelihood that we are carrying on is in accordance with the 5 precepts. So you could say that this not to trade in weapons, not to trade in living beings, meat, this referring to slaughterhouse, and alcoholic drink and poison. So for us to live, in order to us to live in this world, we have to survive ourselves. And to carry on so that our livelihood is in accordance with the so-called the teaching of the so-called 3 learning without our fault. So that is to say, it is using the attitude of compassion and wisdom for us to have a guide. That is to say, it is wisdom not to give rise to vexation to ourselves, and compassion, and that is to say, we make our living but not to harm others. Not only that, not to harm other human beings, but also not to harm sentient beings. And of course, everyone is supposed to have a job, a work to do, as long as it is not against the law. But even the laws are permitted if it hurts other people and hurt ourselves, it is harmful to ourselves, and harmful to others, then you can say that it is not wisdom enough, and it is not compassion enough. So for our lay practitioners, then of course, as we mentioned, that we avoid killing, stealing, also misuse of sex, and not to tell lies, and not to have alcoholic drinks and intoxicant. Say, for example, if the career is a butcher, well, butchers sell meat, nothing's wrong with that, right? But they is the work that is of service to provide meat to others. What happens is that take other sentient beings' life as a way to make money, that itself is not compassion. Somebody would say that, well, because people need to eat, so I provide them. That's what I do. And it's just because people are eating the meat, so that's why I provide. Well, people eating meat will say that, well, it is not convenient for meat. You know, I go everywhere, they sell meat. So I cannot, you know, just choose something else. So all I eat is that I just eat meat. And of course, these things that involve is not compassion, right? And then for stealings, now of course we want to choose something that is the so-called livelihood. That is to say, well, either robbery or taking it, you know, so that we benefit ourselves. That itself also is not in accordance with the teaching of the Buddha. But sometimes when we think different, actually it's quite difficult. You could say that it's difficult to choose a livelihood that is completely pure, so that it has nothing to do with harming other sentient beings. Even if you are working in a supermarket, what they sell, it's somehow connected with the using the resource of the environment, the resource of other animals, products, right? So somehow we are affected. So we cannot really choose some kind of job that is completely avoid all this harmful for others. But what we know is that to have this right livelihood, we have to think about compassion and wisdom and the 5 precepts, right? And for certain place, say for example, monastics in India and also in nowadays in Southeast Asia. So they go out to beg for food, right? And whatever that's given to them, they will take, and they're not allowed to do their own plowing and growing of food. But when it comes to China, then people, you could say that people don't have this custom of providing food for monastics every day. So somehow monastic has to survive themselves. And then especially now they in the mainland China, they have to grow their own food. So the Vinaya saying that they're not supposed to grow their own food, but now they have to do it. And then they have to adjust the environment. And another thing is that, say for example, we're not supposed to make money in spreading the Dharma, especially in China. When you're giving a Dharma talk, you're not supposed to sell tickets. But when it comes to the West, well, if you want to give a public talk, then where is the money coming from to run? There's a budget, right? To run this show or this talk, this activities. And in especially, we are in America. When there's a big event with the Dharma talk, then we have to sell the ticket so that to support the activity. Even the Dalai Lama, when he was in India or in Tibet, when he was giving this big Dharma gathering initiation, he will not sell for money. But when he is in the West, in the USA, in Europe, then he has to sell, the organizations has to sell tickets in order to compensate for the expenses. So you could say that, yeah, this is the way it is. And for us, we try to avoid to the minimum that we choose a livelihood that is not harmful to others, especially those who are directly harmful to others. Say, for example, selling guns, working in a factory to make weapons, and then to slaughterhouse and place that they will make wine. And of course, we don't work for the the wine company. Things like that. It's directly. And even one more thing is that even for having a restaurant that is, not vegetarian restaurants, actually the karma that come back to the person, or especially the owner, is very strong. Of course, those who work there in the kitchen or working, in the service area with a waiter and busboy, somehow they will also receive some kind of karma there. But the karma is, you could say that is not as strong as the one that is, the owner, and the one that is doing directly, say, for example, killing. So for those people working in the slaughterhouse, it pays a lot. But the karma, well, just think of it. You are doing this every day, by killing. Then even when you practice like this, it will affect you. You will not feel that stable. So the right livelihood will directly affect our practice itself, right? So that we would, you know, somehow need to avoid. Okay, now comes to the questions. How can our livelihood be a support, not a hindrance to our Chan practice? Now think of it. When we meditate, when we're practicing in meditation, we have a lot of wandering thoughts. And where are the wandering thoughts coming from? They are coming from everyday encounter activities in everyday life. Whatever we encounter every day, they naturally just come at that moment that we are settling down. Those things will come up. And if those things are not really related thing that is making us more peaceful, making us more tranquil, this thing will affect us. And things that is really impressed, very impressed on our mind, it usually come out. So the right livelihood has to be in accordance with compassion and wisdom, so that we will not be disturbed in our practice. All right. So this is the first question. The second one, how if when doing our job, we don't directly harm others, but the way we live our lives, we indirectly harm others? For example, we use plenty of plastic bags and it could harm animals in seas as the waste ends up in the sea. Is ecologically responsible included in the right livelihood? This question is what happens. You could say that in the Buddha's time, 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, human beings do not face this problem. And therefore, when the Buddha was giving us this guideline of livelihood, they don't have this. We don't have this, you know, this regulation or this vinaya. But of course, the guideline is there, and to have a right livelihood, you have to see for it from a shorter distance or from a nearer site, and also watch it for a further sight, further vision of it. Yes, nowadays the so-called microplastic pollution is really harmful to not only to the sea, not only to the sea animals, but also to our own environment living, because plastic could clog the drainage system, and plastic could be harmful to all the sea animals, include birds, turtles, and all the sea animals there. And now it becomes like the microplastics pollution is that not only the sea is polluted, but the sea animals are affected because they also take in the birds also. And think about it, we ourselves will also be affected, right? And nowadays, quite a lot of country do not, the people do not really aware of it, but it nowadays it become more and more obvious. It's a harmful use of plastic. Not only that it creates garbage, but the whole thing is very harmful to the whole environment and to ourselves, right? So those things, you can see that it is because of the common karma that we are here in this modern time, we have to face. And nowadays, they already, you know, certain country already limited the use of plastic, but still we could only slow down, but we could not stop. A very extreme case where some people are aware of it, so that they just want to make sure that in their households, they will not use plastic, especially plastic bags. And there was a case in this this person in this house in Hong Kong, that he was living in the apartment, and when he go out to go for shopping, he always have a bag or a few bags that is not plastic with him. And in his household, he was so determined that he don't even want to use, say, toilet paper, because it has to chop down trees to make papers for us. So you're thinking of it, it's very difficult. But certain people, they are really determined to do it. So they make it to become the minimal use. But in general, it's going to be difficult to really that you want to go back to the older time, right? But somehow we should be aware of it, that okay, just think about how bad the effect of plastic that is really harmful for the whole environment could be used just the least, only whatever that is needed. But when you really have a deeper consideration in our daily life, many things are related to plastic. Say, for example, plastic here and plastic here and plastic, everything, almost everything, plastic. But could we limit? Somehow we could do it if we are more aware. So try to choose the livelihood that is not directly affected, making like influence directly to harm ourselves, to harm others. And then the third one is, when is enough is enough? How do we define enough in relation to our livelihood to earn money? This again, you could think about what is enough. And our Sukong was saying something like this: think about it, what is needed and what is wanted. If we want, usually we want more and more and more. We only need a few. Actually, that is enough. So in our everyday life, we could use this as a guidance for us. Is that and am I having enough for this, or do I want more? Especially, just think about clothing. Okay, we have enough clothes, but people will think about fashion, beautiful. So do you want more? Say, for example, this is an extreme one where, some celebrities in their house, they have 1,000 pairs of shoes. So that is really luxury. And is it necessary? It's more than necessary. Yes, you can say that in certain occasion, you have to dress appropriately, but 1,000 pairs of shoes, probably there are many shoes that you just don't use, because when you see them, you see that, oh, it's beautiful, you just want it. So that we need to really consider about it. And clothing is the same. People who attended our retreats, and then after the retreat, you know, in the retreat, Sukong was talking about the need and the want, so that they're more aware. And then when they come home, they start to give away the very expensive clothes to their friends, so that they have a few is enough. So just use this guideline for yourself. Think of it: is this the time? This is what we really want, or is this just I only need certain things? If I only need, actually, it's just a few things. That's all. And want, we want more and more. Also money, we want more and more. So that's what happens. Okay.